Welcome back to the Drag the Waters podcast. We're sitting here at episode 7. It's a cultural political commentary from your two Texas bros. I'm your host, Aaron James.
This is Mario. What's up?
Oh yeah, thank you for hanging out with us. We're happy to that you're here with us. Got a couple topics today, but mostly we're going to be freeballing like we normally do. We've been looking into astrology lately. I did a reading for Vash, but I was curious because in that astrology book I have, you can look at the astrology of an organization. So it's like, what does the chart for Drag the Waters podcast look like? And I was pleasantly amused. So, we got Sun in Capricorn. Says you have the desire to climb whatever mountains are necessary to stand on your own 2 feet in order to work out your ambitions and your salvation. You are conservative, organized, methodical, traditional, responsible, honest, efficient, patient, practical, authoritative, disciplined, serious, and goal-oriented. We're going to go ahead and work the negative side because we have the power to do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ascendant Virgo tend to be practical, analytical, discriminating, fastidious, blah, 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 attentive to details. You have an ingenious, active, and alert mind. Gaining knowledge and putting it to good use is important to you.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. When he was reading this to me, I was like, wait, how did you even get this? Like, for the podcast?
It's the first podcast released January 18th, 9 p.m., because I figured that was about the time. The moon may be off a little bit because the hour might be not perfect. We have a moon in Aries. Adaptability and constancy in your efforts to initiate are present here. So we have trouble beginning these things, which is why we just opted to start with astrological reading.
Yes.
Frequent emotional upheavals due to fiery temper are possible. Patience is not your strong suit, and if things don't happen the way you want it now and well, you can go off like a bolt of lightning.
I guess we'll wait for our first guest.
No! Never! Your tendency is to be spontaneous, temperamental, impetuous, headstrong, and you dislike restraint. You can be very direct in thought, action, and speech, and everyone knows how you feel. You pull no punches. You can be a very bossy individual if you do not try to control your moods. The desire to be in the limelight or in charge of things is present.
Oh, God.
You hate showing any personal weakness or that you need any support, comfort, or nurturing from others. Your enthusiasm for starting new projects is contagious, and you are probably a better starter than a finisher.
All right.
You are adventurous, courageous, and independent. You don't like complainers and are always ready to meet any challenge. A fair amount of physical activity is good for you, so you can work off those moods every once in a while.
Oh, man. We're getting the gym installed here soon, guys.
You have a creative, flamboyant personality that likes to trailblaze in unusual ventures. Perhaps your accomplishments cover inferiority feelings that lie beneath the surface. Yeah, it's pretty much right. Mercury in Aquarius. Your thoughts tend to be unique, unusual, rapid, and coming completely out of the blue, eccentric, unconventional, scientific, weird, and perhaps a bit ahead of their time.
Oh, nice.
You are a progressive and non-traditional thinker and are very open and receptive to new technologies and breakthroughs in the latest discoveries in any field.
Okay.
Except Neuralink. I'm not on.
You're not in? Oh, I'm going to wait until like version 3, maybe version 5. You know, like think of the first iPhone. Think Windows 95, bro.
I think it's going to be a scouter as long as it's like not invasive and I can take it off. Mm-hmm. But as soon as they can get into the brain, bro, they have control.
Oh, they already got your brain, bro.
In a way.
Yes. Yeah. We'll I'll have to write that down. Okay.
Yeah. Write it down. You believe that humanity can resolve their problems through creative intelligence using inventive minds and scientific principles. You are a bit impatient with those who are conservative and unimaginative and those who are afraid perhaps to think about and try new things and ideas. Okay. You are intuitive and resourceful with the ability to correctly judge human character and penetrate the mask that others wear. You follow your own convictions regardless of what others think, and you have the ability to express your ideas clearly so that others easily comprehend.
Drag the waters.
On the negative side, you can be eccentric, bohemian, radical, revolutionary, and stubborn.
Drag the waters.
Drag the waters. Venus is in Capricorn. Let's see here. Love and affections are expressed in cautious, reserved, and serious ways. You are probably not that demonstrative towards the ones you love. You are very much about what other people think of you, and you fervently desire love and appreciation, yet your reserved responses make it appear that you are very detached. Blah, 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 blah. This is about love, but if we look at Venus as aesthetics, we can just say we have a very utilitarian aesthetic.
Okay.
Which is true because the studio is bare. We haven't, blinged it up quite yet. Our Mars, masculine energy, is in Taurus. Once you set your mind on a goal, your dedication, determination, and commitment to it are extraordinary. You never give up, and find it difficult to change your mind or course in midstream. Whatever you have your sights set on, you refuse to give up or let it go.
Grounded.
Loyal to a fault. Unless someone betrays your trust, then all heck can break loose.
Fuck them.
You are patient and usually slow to anger unless someone takes you too far. That is when you charge, just like the bull Taurus stands for. You are reliable, consistent, can handle more workload than most others around you, prefer regular routine, definite hours, clear defined responsibilities, tasks, enjoy building, and seeing the results of your hard work. Things you can put your hands on appeal to you. You need to see practical results, and you're not overly satisfied with intangibles, just like having a good time. Kind of true. Kind of.
Give or take.
We'll just skip down. Jupiter, Jove, also in Aquarius.
Heard that.
You are humanitarian, concerned with the welfare of all people. You believe in the universality of life and the brotherhood of man. Reform and large group projects appeal to you as they give you wide scope for your own personal growth and expansion. You work well with others because of your inventive mind, your keen judgment, and your fine intellect and friendliness. You are intuitive, tolerant, and sociable. You make an ideal diplomat, labor relations specialist, or personnel manager because of your knack for handling various groups of people. Saturn, Aquarius.
Okay.
You possess practical common sense, self-discipline, and inner sources of strength, which provide you stamina. Although humane in nature, with a friendly and sympathetic disposition, you may have difficulty in understanding other people's goals. You need to learn tolerance for other people and must develop forgiveness. You have the ability to exercise system, organization, discipline, and tact in unusual and non-traditional ways. You can think ahead and plan things with inventive flair. Seeing things in a whole new way is one of your strengths. Your tendency is to be serious, impersonal, detached, and scientific. And, yeah. And we'll just leave it at that.
Heard that.
Yeah, we don't need to go too far. But, yeah, that was just, like, those first few, man, like...
The project.
Yeah,
it sounds good.
Yeah, we're concerned. The desire to climb whatever mountains are necessary. So much fun. But you took a note earlier?
I took a couple notes about Neuralink and then
That's right, Neuralink.
Jupiter and Saturn and the universality of man and difficulty and tolerance. I thought that shit was funny.
I think it's quite accurate.
Well, I was talking to another friend the other day, and he was saying that I was very opinionated, and I told him that I preferred the term to be what's the word? Willingness to exchange ideas confrontationally. Yeah.
Yeah. Willing to go through some intellectual conflict.
Mm-hmm. So I was suggesting being very reasonable in the sense that, well, I also do enjoy just kind of like sparring with other people about their perspective because, you know, I oftentimes I'm coming up with my ideas, you know, and I need to test my ideas against other people's ideas to see if I'm at fault. Because I've definitely changed perspective from like when I was 18. You know, I used to think that, affirmative action was a good thing, you know.
Oh, yeah. I was full-blown lefty, too, back in the day. It wasn't until...
Which is why they want to lower the voting age to 16.
I said that was going to happen.
Yeah, dude.
The Democrats, or the leftists, are all about enfranchisement to gain power. So they're going to say 16-year-olds can vote. They're going to say illegal aliens can vote. They're going to say dead people can still vote eventually.
Right.
As long as it gets in the votes to combat the conservative population in their voting.
Yeah, and voter suppression is such a good, like, choice of words for them to use as a tool to, like, bludgeon their opponents. Attack their...
Their image, their PR.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
their reputation.
Because it's not so much voter suppression as it should be hard to vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everybody can vote, then...
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of qualification.
Yeah.
You know, but the only reason this is a problem is because people still believe in democracy.
Yeah, which is dumb, because, like, we've known this for fucking years, dude. Like, literally... They were talking about how shitty democracy was in Greek times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Western cultural tradition inheritance needs to be... Like, I feel like history traditional philosophy, because traditional philosophy takes us to modern philosophy, and then psychology. Like those three things need to be like more important as far as educating the people. But
oh yeah, dude, the more you face that mic towards you, or the more you face the mic, the more bass your voice gets.
Oh, okay.
So it might be, your voice might be sounding
no,
thin.
it just cut out.
Because you're coming from, well that too, but when I heard your voice, see, if I'm coming from the side, it's probably less bass. If I go
Hello?
if I face the demon straight in the eye,
Okay.
you get all the space.
Bass.
Yeah, but you're saying that people should, you're talking about Athenian values or history, psychology, and something else?
Yeah, well, psychology is important because people, I don't know, I guess I'm that's a logical fallacy too, is when you say people, that's a generalization. But, and that too, like just understanding language, because people get so easily confused reading an article because they go through the framing techniques, and then they're having these fucking journalists, and you know, before the internet, it was the TV, like Fox News and stuff, that were like guiding people down a path. It's like holding their hand to bring them to their perspective. And then people wouldn't have like an idea on politics or have an idea on affairs or anything. They wouldn't have a perspective. They'd have a perspective given to them because they don't understand the language. They don't see the framing technique. They don't see how they're being manipulated.
Well, the manipulation there is not necessarily, it's not fully evil or whatever, or what's the word? Not manipulative, malicious. Because if you ever study copywriting, like writing sales copy, like how ads work is you have your headline, and your headline has to catch people's attention. Because if the headline doesn't catch their attention, they're not going to read the ad. Yeah,
like Burger King today tweeted on National Women's Day or whatever, and they were like, "Women belong in the kitchen." And it was fucking hilarious. And then what it ended up being was that they have a scholarship to help women get into culinary arts school.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because only 20% of chefs are female.
So you get this headline, right? So only 20% of people who read the headline are going to continue. Then you write what's called your lead, which is like your first sentence or paragraph. And that has to be salacious enough or interesting enough to pull you in to read the rest of the copy.
Right.
And so that's the whole point. Like you're talking about getting pulled along by a string. They're doing that with an ad to sell you something. And within the news, I guess they're trying to sell advertising, so they got to keep your attention. And then for the more malicious propagandists, they're pulling you through and then feeding you their propaganda.
And they give you an idea.
Yeah.
They give you an idea to regurgitate.
Yeah.
And that's why, but clearly you and I can see that. A majority of the people can't, people, or they don't want to. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's another thing about human psychology. You got to understand human psychology that helps you build relationships, whether they be workplace relationships or personal relationships, romantic relationships, and like understanding human psychology to where you can get over your own insecurities interacting with people. That's the whole idea of like socializing, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah, socializing is about, well, depends on which frame you look at it from. But it's about there's the whole thing where people think homeschool kids are weird. Michael Malice talks about this a lot. And maybe there is something there. And you don't want to homeschool your kids because you want them to be around other kids so they get, they can interact with other people.
Right.
But he said that whenever he interacts with homeschool kids, they're way smarter, more confident. I guess because their self-esteems aren't beaten down and they haven't found the place in the social hierarchy that is the public school.
Right.
Which can be pretty rough.
And they can interact with adults better and stuff like that. No, I get that. And then, when you look at Peterson's, when he talks about socialization, it's like helping you know the rules of the game.
Yeah, that's part of it, definitely. So, but a lot of the rules, that's the dark side of socialization. You send your kid to public school, they get socialized to become generally cogs in the machine. So, whether they're, simple cog or, a high-paid cog or whatever that goes to college,
Yeah, but not all people that go to college make money.
Oh no, most certainly not.
Dude, yeah, there was a meme I sent to the board the other day, and
Oh yeah, that was brutal, bro.
yeah, savage,
It's
bro.
like, what does an engineering major ask?
How does it work?
How does it work?
A scientist asks, why does it work? A business major asks, how much does it cost? And the liberal arts major asks, would you like fries with that? Savage, bro.
Would you like foam in your latte?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty savage. It hurt a little bit, but I'm over it now.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. But back to psychology, I think like if I was like to have 3 topics put into the public school system for all kids, and this is with the basis of you want your children to be successful individuals, functioning in American capitalist society, or probably most capitalist societies. Psychology is one of them, finance, and economics.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, there's probably bad economics out there that I don't pay attention to. But if they can understand their own thoughts and emotions and how that limits them, and how they can interact with others that way, they can understand the basics of money movement, and then how they can fit into an economy and value their skills and talents, then you have the very foundation for a successful individual.
Practical utilities, like practical tools that'll like actually help you be an adult in the real world.
Yeah. So, and I think I would say communication, because I've had a minor in communication in college, which was a good class, but it's more like communication to me was like more like applied psychology. So I actually, after a while, it's just like, how is this not just pure psychology?
Right.
But I think it's because it's so tied close together about how we communicate, the language we use, basic stuff like that. I mean, it was interesting. Of course, one of those classes was the first time I realized that I think I'm smarter than my professor. And that's a rough lesson the first time you hit there. Most people probably go through that a lot younger.
Oh, explain this to me. Wait, and this was a communications class?
Yeah, it was in college. Yeah, it's just I don't know, like there's a certain age you grow up where you realize that your parents aren't superheroes.
Right.
Or like you realize that one of your teachers might be like dumb or not, or you're just a person.
Yeah.
So it probably happens with people probably have a lot more rough upbringing because they have to make that judgment quick. So they have to develop a self-esteem or ego as a defense mechanism. But I was such a good boy that I always deferred to the authority figure. Like it was like that for a long time.
Heard that.
And then eventually I asked a question in my I think it was a interpersonal communications class, and this dumb blonde lady leading the class, she said something. She gave me the dumb look, and I was just like, oh,
like deer in the headlights, kind of.
It was just like my self-esteem is there, and it's just
oof.
And she told me it, but she's like she didn't know. Like her voice is like, I'm not sure. And then,
shaky.
Or she gave me it wasn't even like that. Just like she talked around the issue, and I wasn't satisfied with the answer, and I realized that she didn't have
an answer,
the capacity to give me the answer that I wanted. And then I was like, oh, that's right. I can be smarter than my professor. And it's one of those things of realizing your own power. Like I could have, if I realized this way back in high school, my probably would have been a different high school experience.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the first time you realized that you might have been smarter than an adult in your life or a teacher or something like that?
Yeah, I guess it was freshman year in high school when I was taking calculus, and everybody in my class was a senior, and people were asking me to tutor them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then in college, so I went to community college because I couldn't afford university. And what was it? There was another math class, and we were on chapter 11. So I was making 100 in this class. We were on chapter 11. And so I was expecting a lecture on chapter 11, but everyone in the class was asking about stuff in like chapter 2 and chapter 3, and this professor was like, I don't know, babysitting all these adults, all these like 30-year-old people, and like showing them the formulas and like going through the formulas for these people, and I'm just like in class like not even paying attention because like there's no reason. Like we would have literally learned this stuff like, what is that, chapter 2, 6 weeks ago. So it's like, what the fuck am I doing in this building, you know?
Right. Well, I forgot that I had an English teacher in my sophomore year in high school that I thought was really stupid. But I think I gave her the benefit of the doubt as an individual, that she was just dumb.
Okay.
As a person. But I was not ready to impose that upon all adults, to accept them as they are. I was like, oh, you're really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And then until I had that professor, I thought professors were like a cut above. And they're not. They're just people.
Heard that.
People are just people. Don't put no one on a pedestal.
Yeah.
But don't outshine the master if you're in a power relationship. You know, you got to do what's good for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's that. And that has to do with psychology too. Like, you got to pick your battles and stuff. I think that's what I always liked about like the idea of learning the Western tradition and like learning, what is it, the classical education, right? The education that the founding fathers had and stuff. Because the way that I see it, and maybe this is like a romanticization, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like the knowledge that like kings and queens would have like passed on to their offspring, right? Like this is the shit that like got us to where we are. You know, an easy example for those that like fiction books in Game of Thrones, I believe it's the first book. And they're like teaching Jon Snow and Robert Stark and Brandon Stark like historical battles and the banners and all that kind of stuff, you know. That would have like made them competent individuals ready to like rule a society, instead of like, here, read this book on whatever woke ideology.
Right.
That's like undermining the giants, you know, like fucking what is it, taking a crowbar to the knees of the giants of the shoulders that we stand upon, you know.
Oh yeah. And you know what's funny is that classical education is what a liberal arts degree was back originally. Like that was liberal arts.
Yeah, they wrote about this in the Great Works, the Great Conversation. The first one of the first chapters, they talk about how they were eroding it even then. So that this book series came out in 1951, I want to say, and it was a collection of the Great Works, and they talked about how even then they were compartmentalizing everything, so they're creating more and more barriers for people to get this education. And then they also like created a mystique around the it's similar to the stock market. They created a mystique. They like made it more complicated. They tried to make it sound like really complicated to like scare people from learning it, because all these great works like Plato's writings or Marcus Aurelius' writings or Shakespeare's writings, they weren't written for geniuses. They were written for laymen.
Maybe. I don't know. I thought a lot of the old stuff was written for the aristocrats.
I mean,
most people couldn't read.
Yes, but they were written in plain. Like if you look at Homer in particular, it's a great example because it's one of the first works. But like all his poems they're written in plain Greek. They're not like all fancified.
Oh yeah, but that was oral tradition, and that was like entertainment. That wasn't like scholarly work. That was a
dude. I can get this book right now and talk to you about it. Like that, it was just ideas, because these people are just like regular people, you know.
Oh, definitely.
And they're learning it at the time, like while they're just thinking.
And no, for certain, a lot of the stuff we read about in philosophy. This is what I heard. I agree with the sentiment, but I just listened to the Lex Friedman podcast with that fighter guy. I can't remember his name right now. Really cool interview. And he's a big fan of Nietzsche and all this stuff. But it says basically all the old philosophers, like, people haven't changed since 2,000 years ago. Like the stuff they were complaining about in Athens is the same stuff that like the old people were complaining about young people being, too frivolous, and the young people were complaining about old people being stuffy. It's the same stuff.
Yeah.
The poor people
This is
complaining
why
about.
human psychology is so important, and why this tradition's like, because then you could see that the history repeats itself. It's just like now we've got modern tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's handy, and it's a lot easier to get access to this information too because of the internet, podcasts, YouTube, and all that stuff. But most people, I don't think, are like looking for this stuff. Most people are looking for,
Cat videos,
and pornography. So,
yeah,
Instagram booty hoes.
Yeah, I mean the thoughts, the e-thoughts, because now there's a whole group of. Oh, that's a motorcycle.
Yeah, whole group of what?
Oh, of women like taking advantage of.
Shout out International Women's Day.
Yeah, young men taking advantage of young men. With these OnlyFans, and good for them. Capitalism, but at the same time, it's like, what's the addiction looking like for all these incels and femcells?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever paid for pornography.
Good job.
I've thought about it, but it's like, nah, there's an abundance.
Yeah, it's so free, for sure.
I mean, if you pay for it, you gotta really like it, man. But yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So, but I am all for all the sex workers and stuff, being self-employed, self-empowered, and all that stuff. I don't really care.
Then I guess it's just awareness then for young people.
Well, definitely, people need to if you understand the sexual response and how that's like so important because it's part of the evolutionary code. Like it's the reason why we exist. Like that's a very powerful like trigger in the human nervous systems. That sexual response.
Right. But I mean, you go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like the same thing with like fear and hunger, and protection of your children, like these other very base animal needs. Like you can't disrespect those.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking about like that one kid that, and I guess it is an outlier, right? So like that one kid that spent $60,000 of their parents' money that they didn't have. They like put it all on the card, and then they like killed himself or whatever. Or like all these girls pretending they're older so they could be on OnlyFans, and then they're like selling themselves for $5 or whatever, just because they don't have like the self-respect. They don't
understand the full gravity of the situation.
Right. They just like, I'm getting attention. It's like
on the internet.
The same thing with like the attention economy with the thumbs up and the thumbs down. And, it's really bad for the youth, I suppose, because, women, like young woman depression has gone up a lot. I think there was a lady on Joe Rogan's podcast that was talking about how like peer pressure to become transgender, like gender fluid, like went up 1,000% or something in the UK.
Yeah, it's I don't remember her name, but she's a big fighter out there.
Yeah, so it's just like fad stuff, similar to, I guess when we were younger, it'd be like bulimia and anorexia.
Well, I think it's because females in general are more sensitive to social pressures, and they did also talk about this in that same Lex Friedman podcast.
Heard that
with Barnett. I think Barnett was the fighter's name.
Yeah,
Josh Barnett, and they talked about probably sensitivity to like nonverbal cues. Some people interpret this as intuitiveness and maybe even empathy and psychism or whatever, being more psychic. But it's because they had to be like you had to understand what was because women are generally weaker than men, more frail, especially during pregnancy, which is why they want the protector provider.
Right.
Because for 9 months, or not 9 months necessarily, but for a month or two at least, like they're going to be vulnerable,
right?
Intensely vulnerable, and they're going to need all the energy to feed the baby. They're going to need to be protected while they're vulnerable and stuff like that. So it makes sense evolutionarily, and this is why we have these qualities selected for in men generally. Maybe not so much today, which is probably why we are going to see a decline in masculinity, because evolution hasn't caught up to the technology and society.
Right. And men are down bad.
Come again?
men are down bad. I guess that's an internet phrase people are using on Twitter now. It's like down bad, like depressed.
Oh, I mean, they're gonna be a little bitch about it.
Yeah,
I mean, sure.
exactly.
I mean, you don't have to like just because the survival pressure isn't there doesn't mean you can't like. I mean, if you're spending $60,000 and jerking off or whatever to freaking ethos, that's you saying you're bored. That's your mind being like, I need to do something productive, and you're pressing your fun button that says you're mating when you're not.
Right.
And take that energy elsewhere.
Yeah, Deborah So points that out, that most pornographic addicts just need something to do. It's like a form of procrastination.
Yeah, they need a goal. So same thing like video game addiction, which is hitting those similar buttons. I mean, it's more fun to dream like you're, romanticized sword fighter or whatever, or a wizard. But, if you were a sword fighter back in the days, you'd probably, die.
Yeah.
Of something bad.
Or you'd be, like, really hard because you killed a bunch of people and, like, carry that with you.
That, too. Or, yeah, the mental health concerns are very much different when you're, thinking about being stabbed to death all the time.
Right.
As opposed to, worrying about getting a job after graduating college or whatever, getting laid off. So...
Or like finding yourself or whatever the fuck it is.
That's definitely, and you do need to understand yourself, especially like back to my trinity or whatever of psychology, finance, and economics. I value those three subjects because in the abundant modern economy, like that's what we don't have the survival pressure, so there's no like go out, hunt and gather. What's replaced hunting and gathering is, the day job or work, providing some kind of value, because you gotta, instead of hunting and gathering food and stuff, you gotta hunt and gather, money, income, or some kind of value exchange where you can provide for yourself shelter, the food and necessities, and luxuries and everything.
Right.
So if you understand hierarchies, your emotional system, and what's good for you and what's not good for you, and then how to manage the money. Because if you understand economics and your psychology, maybe you do end up doing good, but if you can't manage your money, then
paycheck to paycheck.
You're paycheck to paycheck. You're maybe going to go into a whole lot of debt and have problems like that. If you understand finances and psychology, but you don't understand economics, you're not maximizing. You're not taking the best, opportunities and stuff, I guess you're not optimized for your decisions. And then if you're good with finance and economics, but not good with your psychology, you could just end up miserable and doing something completely wrong for you.
Yeah, doing something like hating your life day to day and like, I get you.
And then not understanding psychology for like other people can also impact your interpersonal interactions in the workplace.
Poor relationships.
And that can... It's very much tied to your soft skills, so it could limit advancement in the workplace, I'd assume.
Yeah, and like open the door for like even more self-doubt and stuff because you don't know how to interact with other people and be like, why am I such a fucking weirdo? Nobody likes me. I should have said this. I should have said that. Why did I do that? And you're just like digging deeper into that hole.
Yes, for me personally, that's my key struggle. Like I understand economics, I feel like well enough. I understand finances well enough. My limiting factor is my personal psychology and trying to integrate that into the economic side of things and overcome my own personal obstacles with people to either find a job or get my business up and running and stuff like that. It's a lot of old self-esteem garbage.
Right. Yeah, I remember people like suggesting I get into like sales or like being a server or stuff like that, just so that you like know how to talk to strangers, right? I think there was even I don't know if it was like a fraternity thing or like a men's dating thing, but they were like, here's a way to boost your confidence. Go out and ask like 100 girls for their number or whatever, and then you're gonna get turned down a lot. So you're just gonna like get over rejection because you're just gonna like reject. Oh, I got a number, and then you see like it's like to help you overcome that fear of rejection or whatever.
Yeah, because eventually, like for a lot of people who don't do that, they see the rejection as a reflection of themselves
Hmm.
as opposed to a reflection of the other person.
Right.
So they see like they think they're deficient if they get rejected, as opposed to the other person just doesn't, it's not interested.
Right.
So that doesn't have to reflect on you at all. It could just be a mismatch of, characteristics or desire.
Yeah.
So
And what else? You gotta treat yourself like a king, man. You gotta treat yourself good, and then you'll project that aura as well. Like
it's one of the laws of power for
mm-hmm.
sure.
And like smiling, like even just simple gestures. Like if you're standing up, especially tall people, if you're standing up straight and your shoulders are even, your neck straight up, you're like subconsciously like exerting power over the people around you. So I know a simple cue is to like lean your hip to one side, make your shoulders uneven, exposing your neck. So exposing your neck is also like, it's almost like how a dog would expose their belly. You're just like, look, here's like sensitive tissue to me, and like those kinds of things will disarm people. The same thing with a smile, If you're walking up to somebody smiling, they're like, okay, this person could be friendly, versus like if you're walking around like with a frown on your face, like you're fucking Biggie Smalls, like.
Yeah, definitely. When I was working at the food bank, because I was always nervous with public speaking, and the way I conducted myself was always very upright and just trying to assume the authority and the power. And most people thought I'd served in the military because of how I carried myself.
Right.
So and they'd all say something because they'd be like, "Oh man, I'm so funny." It's like, really, I didn't even know
Right.
that you're nervous. It's like, well, yeah, it's because I have to hold myself this way, because when I hold myself this way, it's easier to go through the motions. So also taking up a lot of space increases testosterone production in the body. So that can also give you a positive feedback loop of more confidence and whatnot.
Yeah, like shoulders back, looking up instead of looking down. And that's how you could also see people that are, I imagine this is how like robbers see victims and stuff like that. People that have like their shoulders up, like they're guarding their neck, they're like looking down, they're like as small as possible.
Covering their belly. Yeah.
Yeah. People are interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I used to look down at the floor a lot back in like elementary school, because that's probably like probably why I got picked on more, the sign of weakness. So I punched out a kid and gained some confidence.
Right.
And started walking upright more.
And you're like looking down, it's like your eyes are darting away. You don't want to make eye contact, stuff like that. You don't want the people to see your face. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably can work more on my eye contact. It is what it is.
Yeah. I remember that's something I did to help with confidence. When I see people in the street, particularly women, I would like just keep standing. Like if I locked eyes with somebody walking down the street, I'd like keep looking at them until like they looked away. Yeah. And I noticed that I got a lot more double takes. Like girls turn their head and be like, oh, like that fucking meme where it's like,
yeah. Like you probably want to know if you're still looking. So yeah, it's a classic, confidence builder and game and stuff.
Yeah, subtle.
Yeah, as far as the acting like a king thing with me, I'm getting better at it. We talked about this a little bit before, where I'm struggling with. I'm not struggling, like it's the feeling. I'm pretty much going through the proper actions. I feel like of not qualifying what I do. So like I still have the feeling like I have to explain myself to people sometimes, and really don't have to do none of that.
No,
because when you start explaining yourself to people, it's weakness, because then you're giving them fuel. You're giving them something to latch onto and like to create an argument.
And you're talking too much. You're revealing too much.
Yeah.
And that's like disenfranchises yourself. And you're right. Gives them a tool. You're giving them more information. Sometimes unnecessary information.
Yeah, and if you have someone who's already upset with you and you're just giving them more words, then you're just reinforcing. You're giving them more fuel for their upset. Whereas if you don't justify yourself, because you don't have to, especially I'd only apologize or anything like that if I feel like I had done something wrong according to my own personal morality.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel bad because I know I've done something wrong, I've transgressed, then I have no problem apologizing or justifying myself, or trying, I guess at that point, justifying is making excuses.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, saying, I'm sorry, I would have done this differently if I had known,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. But if you do something that upsets somebody and you feel like you have not broken your own personal code,
Mm-hmm.
there's no need to justify or apologize.
Right.
Unless you're trying to play a power game where you're apologizing just to blow someone off.
Yeah, you're like Machiavelli and that shit.
Yeah.
But I guess I use the like treating yourself like a king has helped me mostly in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I guess in relationships too, it's like, well, I changed my perspective because there was like a big stretch where I couldn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have a girlfriend for like 5 years, something like that. I got rejected a bunch of times. And so what I did was I was like, well, I'm always bringing home a winner. Like, I'm a winner. I always take home a winner.
Right, you know? Right.
So that changed my perspective. And then as far as like in the workplace, like when I had applied for jobs and stuff, I know that my competence levels as compared to people that I've worked with, and I know that I'm good at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so my perspective is like, I can get a job anywhere, and like I'm choosing to work for you because I applied to 30 places, and then some of the places didn't hit me up. Well, okay, I'm bringing home a winner, so fuck them. Like, they're missing out.
Mm-hmm.
The people that wanted me, well, they all fucking want me. Everyone wants me. So like, I'm gonna argue or negotiate, I guess would be better, for what I want, my benefits, my pay, you know. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you can't request Christmas off. And I'm like, well, I'm taking these days off.
I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here. I wrote you an email.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you 6 months in advance. And so, like, figure it out, you know, and like just having that, like, I'm going to do. And then, you know, there's still give and take. Like, I like to make my bosses happy because they're more incentivized to, they're like, oh, well, Mario always pulls through. So fuck yeah, I'm going to give him what he wants because he gives me what I want, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like having that air. I remember I gave myself like fucking, was that $14,000 raise? Like just asking for more.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's badass, man.
Yeah. Well, these dudes tried to play me. This also happened when the whole Obama thing, or I lost my insurance and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I ended up negotiating for a big raise, an hourly wage. Like, what is that?
Oh, is this while you're still working in restaurants?
No, while I was still working in restaurants.
All right.
So I had to get 2 jobs, and then I found me a job that was gonna actually pay for my insurance and then give me like a big bump up, because a lot of these little companies were paying me like $9 an hour at the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't miss. The only job that I liked in the restaurant industry was working for Urban Bricks Pizza.
No, when you were the boss. Well,
Pretty
why
much.
not, bro?
I was a shift manager. Yeah. Well, also like the nature of the work, making the dough and all that, making the pizzas, talking to people, and then like the employees were pretty cool generally, except for the few that were, you know, worthless.
It had a laid back like atmosphere too.
It was a lot cooler when we get a shifty, which is just a shift beer.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
So you finish your shift, you go sit down at the bar, knock 1 or 2 back, and go home.
They had some good beers on tap too. Some Milton brews. Some of those like, what was it, Lazy Day or something like that. Like some day beers. Some day beers, dude. Some like hot summer Texas beers where like, you know, I get it why people up north like really drink IPAs, because it's like cold and wet and dreary, and they're like, I need this bitter ass beer to warm me up. But like when you're in the sun and it's fucking 103 degrees outside, you want like a lager.
Some Leinenkugels.
Yeah,
man.
dude.
Give me a shandy.
Shit. Oh, no, I don't know about that. I do not agree here.
I rarely drink that stuff anyway, man. It was mostly IPAs, because then I became a cool guy when I drink IPAs.
Right. You're just like,
yeah, it's bitter.
wearing the flannel, growing the beard out, motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't care too much. I mean, I'll drink an IPA. They're hit or miss, man. Like, depending on how the beer is taken care of, man. Like even it's like the 512. Some days it hits really nice. Other days it's just like, yeah, exactly, like that cough, bro. After you take a swig of it, man.
Oh, dude.
You know, so some days I just prefer like a Lone Star. Like just keep it simple, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting old too, man. Getting old. I drank a bomber a while ago, and it was like, how does this hurt so much? Like I don't get it. Like a 9.4%. I was just like, oh, I used to drink these every day.
Yeah, man. Maybe it is youth, or maybe it's just you're used to it because you've just been on it. You forget what feeling good feels like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Especially if you're on that everyday thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I've had some bad experiences drinking, but like nothing super bad. At one time, I was blackout downtown, and I drove back home. I didn't know how much, and when I looked at the cars the next day, I was like a quarter of an inch from the back of my sister's car. Like I must have had excellent driving, man. Like so my subconscious has it.
Don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly.
No, do not drink and drive.
These are bad memories, everybody.
I know, but it's just that was bad, and I made friends too that I didn't remember.
Oh yeah, you had like numbers in your phone, or?
Yeah, man. And I looked at my phone, and in my internet app, it was just gibberish.
Yeah.
I was so drunk trying to like type stuff, and I couldn't type on my phone because I was that wasted.
Sounds like a good time.
Singing Sun House. Yeah, it was a good time till I woke up puking. Till I woke up apologizing to my mom.
Oh God.
Until I woke up drunk the next morning, went and got Gatorade till I puked that up. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again. And terrifying because like nothing. It's just like glimpse. I'm awake now.
Right.
What just happened? Yeah, man.
It's also like,
it was a rough job too, man. Stressful.
Was that at Urban Brick still?
Nah, that's when I was doing AmeriCorps. And I was rebuilding houses.
Oh.
They got flooded.
Oh yeah.
So I was having problems there because I was still. I didn't have the psychology I do now.
Right.
So it was bad.
Yeah, I guess it's also another thing, like our modern culture, or at least the way we grew up. I don't know about these new kids, but what was it? It was like American Pie. I guess Animal House was just a little bit before us.
That was the 70s, man.
But like drinking culture, like there was no coming of age for like people like us. It's like, what, keg stands, super bad. I'm just trying to think of movies right now. Like, what was the American culture that we had?
Well, dude, I mean, started smoking weed when I was like 16 or 17. First time I smoked was when we played one time with George and Zach, Chicken Little.
What? Oh yeah, that motherfucker. God, Grenade Effect.
Grenade Effect.
That's a fun band.
That mobile home, and then George pulled out that joint, and I smoked it, and I didn't feel it, even though I was acting dumb.
Right, and then it was Guitar Band.
Crushed a pudding cup.
Or no, not Guitar Band. What, Rock Band? It was Guitar Hero.
What do you mean?
It was the first Guitar Hero. George had the first Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah, that we had still rocking on a little Rumble 15 with a Squire bass, and Augustine played with us for a day, and then it was just dumb.
With the Stratocaster.
Didn't go nowhere.
Fun. Yeah, I mean it was.
Well, we
fun.
had no drummer, so. And then after that's when I don't know. But I didn't start drinking. I didn't have my first full beer till I was already 18, and I was playing an Impulse to Devour. So
also fun times.
Started drinking Budweiser, and then eventually Crown Royal, because Pantera, drinking Blacktooth Grins.
Yeah. Man, there was a whole stretch of time. I won't get into that right now.
I know there's parties going on at the high school, but I was not invited. You know, I was probably too much of a goody two shoes.
Right.
Even though I had my whole stoner Viking image by the end there.
Yeah, dude.
That was pretty fun. Should have doubled down, but oh well.
Yeah, whatever, dude. That shit don't matter no more. I think my dad gave me some of the best advice, and I was like too dumb at the time, or too socially immature. I remember he was like, "None of these people are gonna matter next year."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, but I want friends," or some shit like that. It was dumb. It was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I threw away a lot of opportunities that senior year. Oh, that's the train. Yeah.
It's just funny hearing it through the phones.
Mm-hmm. What is it? Yeah, I was no longer top 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that closed some doors for me. But whatever, man. Like, kind of glad I didn't go to college. I don't know what I would have been. A music major?
No, probably not. Unless you could sight read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no. College. It was. I wish I would have done it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to college, don't spend all your time smoking weed, playing video games, not doing enough. You know, go if you want to go to your classes, but the important part is not the classes, unless you're doing something where, like you're going to medical school or something. Yeah, pay attention to your classes.
Right.
But otherwise, it's about the people you meet there and the cool stuff you do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do video games, find whoever's programming or the music guy for your video games or whatever. If you're going to do media.
And network with them.
Start making videos. If you're doing comedy, do comedy videos, do a podcast. Like, start making stuff. Start building your portfolio early. Like, people aren't going to understand that you're a noob till, especially if you produce. If you can produce, then you're already halfway there.
Right.
So the worst case something happens is like, oh, this sucks, I want my money back. And you're like, fine, whatever.
Yeah, like if you're a music producer, find musicians, or like find digital artists, or find like mass marketer.
Yeah, you just need to find, if you're
find a crew.
Producer, you can either, record bands, do it for free, make something cool, and then you can use
portfolio
that to shop around, and sell your skills. Find your rappers and make them their beats or whatever, record them, And eventually, I mean, most people probably gonna suck, but you're gonna find those people who are like serious. Yeah. And those are the people you want to hang out with, because then you become more like them, and you'll be part of that circle of success.
Yeah, and you'll like know how to talk to them, and all the while learning on the job too, right? So you're like practically applying your skills instead of just making a grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, those connections will probably be more important than the connections you make will be more important than the actual degree itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a cousin who's a business major, and the last time I was hanging out with him, he was like, I could take this degree and wipe my fucking ass with it, or something. It was so great. He's doing pretty good. We were chilling. Man, this was years ago. Need to hit him up. But yeah, we just like hit a bunch of bars on 6th Street. Back when 6th Street didn't have a bunch of homeless people on it.
It's got to be weird now. Like, I'd be paranoid.
Yeah, there was an article the other day I was reading, and it was like, I feel like I'm a captive in my own house, and there's like people doing needles in my lawn. And so now they're pushing, I think they're May 6th or something like that. There's people are trying to pass a bill that says no camps anywhere.
Yeah.
Because now, like right now, there's a law. I think it's camp anywhere. Like if it's federal property or state property, it's public property, you can camp there.
Right.
But I don't know. Where are those people going to go?
To be honest, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, I wish them the best, but, I mean, yeah, they must have failed pretty hard, man. Mm-hmm. So, kids, make good decisions.
Yeah.
The sooner you start, the better. Because you'll be, if you learn late like me, you're going to be grandma's boy. Mm-hmm. So, you don't have to be that. You don't want to be dependent on someone where you get kicked out of the house and then you're homeless. And even if you are homeless, I mean, there's probably ways to do it okay.
Yeah.
Me personally, if I was homeless, as long as I had my cell phone, not even a cell phone because it's a public library, It's maintaining the cash flow to where it's going to be finding a decent place to sleep, and then $2 to go to the gym and take a shower, and then
$2.
Yeah, at Smack.
Oh yeah, they're still the same. Is it still the same?
I think so.
Oh
man.
my god,
$2, and yeah, because that way you can go get a shower so you don't smell like crap. And then I guess you have to find a way to like, I guess you have a backpack with a couple, like an extra outfit, and it's maintaining, hygiene, and shaving. So if you have a few possessions, you can make it work.
that shit's funny, dude. Because there's like people that got a lot of money that they're so rich that they want to be poor. They do that minimalist thing.
Yeah.
Or they're like, my whole house is in my backpack or whatever, and it's just like, all right, dude.
Hey man, people trying to find their self-esteem, bro. Like, it's like no one really cares.
No one.
Or if they do, then that's a fan right there.
Right. Oh, I had something. I lost it.
Yeah.
Damn. No.
Well, the only two other notes I have here are Blue Anon and Super Straight.
Super straight. Well, super straight's just regular straight. I saw a good argument against super straight because it was like if you conform to super straight, like if you agree with it, you're like giving ground.
Yeah, you're adopting their frame.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, just straight.
I guess for those of y'all that are unaware, super straight is a meme that's trending on Reddit and Twitter, where against the LGBTQ community. So the trans activists believe that some women have penises and some men bleed. And so the Zoomer, counter argument is that they've created the new sexuality, super straight, to be like, oh, I only date people that have XX. If I'm a male, I only date XXs. And if I'm a female, I only date XYs.
Yeah.
And that's making a lot of people angry.
Yeah, because they have no lives.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm going to be controversial here and say, trans women aren't women. They're trans women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. I don't care how they identify. They can be whatever. Like, I'll call them whatever. But if I'm dating a girl and she pulls out a dick, I'll probably be like, thanks, no.
No thanks, yeah.
I wish you the best of luck, darling. I am out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Unless she was like really awesome, maybe. Whatever. But that'd be something special.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's the thing, right? Like,
yeah, if that ever happens to you, do not beat the other person. It's not necessary. You can just leave.
Yeah, and that just like proves that you're an insecure individual. And assault is wrong.
Yeah, and if something already happened, just let it go.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell nobody and leave. You can be polite, as awkward as it will be.
Right. And
because there are stories of like dudes who have gone, so many bases with what they thought was, female, and then they get the surprise and they end up beating them half to death or to death and bad stuff like that.
And then they're in prison, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the civil rights law or the Equal Protections Act already covers trans people. I don't understand why they want specific or like protections. Me personally, I don't understand the argument because you already can't discriminate based on sex. So if someone's trans or whatever, like, it doesn't matter that they present themselves as a woman and are a man. Like, they can't be discriminated against based on their sex. Right. So it's like,
oh, I guess it's a matter of like
the
presentation.
Well, yeah, and the way I see it is that the special protections are so that they can, a biological male or a biological female can go to a men's prison or a female's prison or go into the opposing bathroom.
All right.
Or compete in opposing sports. And all those things, I think they should just be biological. Like, for instance, the women's sports is a good example. There's no rule saying that women can't compete in men's sports.
Right.
They just can't compete when they're at the audition. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no rule barring women from men's sports.
Right.
Because when it comes to the competition for the trial to be drafted or whatever, men outperform them.
Right.
So they created their own league that's women's only.
Right.
And that's how they keep the men out, right? So I don't understand why these trans people want to compete with the women, probably because they're poor athletes as compared to the phenoms. But most men are not phenom athletes, you know, like.
Well, I mean, that's like that's the worst reading probably on it, is people going trans to like wreck shop in sports.
Right.
More likely, I assume a psychological issue, which I mean, it's transgenderism, but whatever, or gender dysphoria. But it'd be like people trying to self-affirm, so like someone has some athletic capability, and they are trans woman or whatever, and they try to compete there. It's they have an easy avenue for like self-esteem, gratification.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't care. You know, do what you want to do. I'm very libertarian on that stuff, but like there has to be protections for women and girls, and you know that's like I'm really excited, or not excited, I guess. Like it's even Barack Obama said it was a circular firing squad, and now it's like coming full circle because now there's a fifth generation feminism that's pushing these people out because they realize now that they're losing women only spaces to transgender men. And in fact, it's more, and the LGBT community would say that it's more inclusive to have a transgender female lead the group of females and like be the leader of the seminar and be in a position of power amongst women, right? Because like they're also women, right? But the protection for me is more like in sports and then like in the women's bathroom, you know, like stuff like that.
Right.
Like I think it was Ohio where they allowed a transgender student to be in the girls' lockers room. And so like all these parents were in outcry or outroar. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Outcry.
Yeah.
Because now their children, their daughters, their underage daughters, and this is an underage boy, of course, as well. It's high school. I think they're 16 or something like that.
Right.
But they don't have like a women's only area. Like they don't get to have the women's locker room. So they've lost. So to accommodate this one individual,
make a private changing area for an individual, you know, or stalls or whatever.
Right.
Like it's not difficult.
But I mean, that's the whole thing, right? The unisex bathroom, the family bathroom, or the single-use bathroom that has the toilet and I mean, that's no problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's simple solutions.
It's also women being upset that there's no line in the men's room.
I guess. That's silly stuff.
Yeah, that's a bad joke, I guess.
Yeah, man.
I'm not a comedian.
Yeah, neither am I. But, yeah, as far as like the bathroom stuff goes, I figure as long like if there's no assault, there's no problem, right? If people are just changing clothes, whatever, you know. And then if there's issue, like there's always private changing rooms for anybody of any gender, you know. And then as far as sports goes, like I guess that does kind of suck if the sex, the biological sex determines competitive league. And then I guess if there's like a trans man, if they have been taking testosterone, they'd be considered taking performance enhancing drugs, and then they exclude themselves on that basis. So I don't know.
I guess we could go, I mean, co-ed bathhouses are like a thing in Japan, right?
Yeah, so
maybe it's a perspective thing.
Yeah, that. But as far as like competitive sports, I guess is like at that point, like you're not gonna be able to compete on what's an esteemed competitive league as a trans person unless you compete in the men's league.
Right.
So at that point, like I mean, you could still like there's probably some like kind of community league somewhere that'll have you. You know, you can still play, just probably won't be competitive.
Right.
So I think the time it really matters is when there's like some kind of, clout on the line,
I suppose.
But,
Opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we have gone an hour and 4.
Oh, my bad.
So no, it's not no bad. It's just how it is, Thanks everyone for listening, hanging out with us. We are no longer doing Patreon because we have set up a locals page. What's the minimum?
I think it's $5.
$5. $5. You can come in and it's full bonus content. To get full access to the community, and no worry, no tears. So you can do that. You can always like and subscribe on YouTube. That's where we're at for now. And then if you want to support us monetarily, hit us up on locals. Where's that at?
We'll put the link in the description. It's dragthewaters.locals.com.
dragthewaters.locals.com.
You can also follow me on Twitter, Mario_DTW.
Hell yeah. And then if you want to get in touch with Aaron James, you're going to have to do it through the comment section of YouTube for now. Or, I don't know. You can shout out Mario. He'll let me know.
For sure.
All right. Until then, we have been Drag the Waters Podcast. I am Aaron James.
It's Mario. DT Dubs represent.
All right. And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.